Late one afternoon in the summer of 2006, I found myself in a small village in northern Vietnam, sitting around a sooty kitchen fire with a number of local women whose language I did not speak, trying to ask them questions about marriage. For several months already, I had been traveling across Southeast Asia with a man who was soon to become my husband. I suppose the conventional term for such an individual would be fiancé, but neither one of us was very comfortable with that word, so we weren't using it. In fact, neither one of us was very comfortable with this whole idea of matrimony at all. Marriage was not something we had ever planned with each other, nor was it something either of us wanted. Yet Providence had interfered with our plans, which was why we were now wandering haphazardly across Vietnam, Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, and Indonesia, all the while making urgent, even desperate efforts to return to America and wed. The man in question had been my lover, my sweetheart, for over 2 years by then, and in these pages I shall call him Felipe. Felipe is a kind, affectionate Brazilian gentleman, 17 years my elder, whom I had met on another journey, an actual planned journey, that I had taken around the world a few years earlier in an effort to mend a severely broken heart. Near the end of those travels, I'd encountered Felipe, who had been living quietly and alone in Bali for years, nursing his own broken heart. What had followed was attraction, then a slow courtship, and then, much to our mutual wonderment, love. Our resistance to marriage then had nothing to do with an absence of love. On the contrary, Felipe and I loved each other quite unreservedly. We were happy to make all sorts of promises to stay together faithfully forever. We had even sworn lifelong fidelity to each other already, although quite privately. The problem was that the two of us were both survivors of bad divorces, and that we had been so badly gutted by our experiences that the very idea of legal marriage with anyone, even such nice people as each other, filled us with a heavy sense of dread. Our experiences had left the two of us taxed, troubled, and decidedly suspicious of wholly wedded matrimony. Like anyone who has ever walked through the valley of the shadow of divorce, Felipe and I had each learned firsthand this distressing truth, that every intimacy carries, secreted somewhere below its initial lovely surfaces, the ever-coiled makings of a complete catastrophe. We had also learned that marriage is an estate that is very much easier to enter than it is to exit. Unfenced by law, the unmarried lover can quit a bad relationship at any time, but you, the legally married person who wants to escape doomed love, may soon discover that a significant portion of your marriage contract belongs to the state, and that it sometimes takes a very long while for the state to grant you back your leave. Thus, you can feasibly find yourself trapped for months or even years in a loveless legal bond that has come to feel rather like a burning building in which you, my friend, are handcuffed to a radiator somewhere down in the basement, unable to wrench yourself free while the smoke billows forth and the rafters are collapsing. And I'm sorry, does this sound unenthusiastic? I share these unpleasant thoughts only to explain why Felipe and I had made a rather unusual pact with each other right from the beginning of our love story. We had sworn with all our hearts to never, ever, under any circumstances, marry. We had even promised to never blend together our finances or our worldly assets in order to avoid the potential nightmare of ever again having to divvy up an explosive personal munitions dump of shared mortgages, deeds, property, bank accounts, kitchen appliances, and favorite books. These promises having been duly pledged, the two of us proceeded forth into our carefully partitioned companionship with a real sense of calmness. For just as a sworn engagement can bring to so many other couples a sensation of encircling protection, our vow never to marry had cloaked the two of us in all the emotional security that we required in order to try once more at love. And this commitment of ours, consciously devoid of official commitment, felt miraculous in its liberation. It felt as though we had found the Northwest Passage of perfect intimacy, something that, as Garcia Marquez wrote, resembled love, but without the problems of love. So that is what we had been doing up until the spring of 2006, minding our own business, building a delicately divided life together in unfettered contentment. And that is very well how we might have gone on living, happily ever after, except for one terribly inconvenient interference. The United States Department of Homeland Security got involved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.